Alright, welcome back everybody to Livestream Under the Moonshine, number 288 tonight. This is obviously our continuation of the visual novel, One Small Fire Time. So if we remember back to last week when I did Livestream Under the Moonshine number 287 and part 3, that was a little bit longer episode because I think the Chapter 7 came at like 45 minutes into the stream or 40 minutes into the video or something like that, so I went ahead and continued. And it ended up being a long chapter, made the whole video last about an hour and a half. But we are still learning all about Janice here, and she's at the madhouse. She doesn't fit in. She's in this magical world where she doesn't have the ability, like everybody else, to cast spells. By use of her hands or by use of any way. And so she's a misfit, and that's why she was sent to the madhouse for her lunacy when she was a very young child. She's 13 now. She's getting picked on by boys. But in the last episode, she took a stand. She actually, not only, we've seen her take a stand before. She stood up against like 5 bully boys earlier in the visual novel, but she really took a stand when she went out to grab Drake, who left the madhouse, and he left in embarrassment at the fact that Janice had whooped his ass basically with raw physical power and was able to dodge his magical spells when he was trying to pick on her. Not only did she whoop his ass, but she whooped all his friends' asses as well. It was pretty entertaining, to say the least. And now he's left the madhouse in sheer embarrassment. And in the last episode, she left the madhouse to go get him and bring his ass back home. And they found him in a dark alley. And she basically ended up just taking him and dragging him by his shirt collar, if I remember right. And she drug him all the way back, his butt and balls bouncing over the rocks. And that was kind of the last paragraph, is how poor Drake was getting his little ass dragged back home by Janice here, and Aiden went along with her because he wanted to protect her, make sure everything went okay. But he pretty much let it happen. He pretty much let her just drag his ass back home because he refused to go back home, and I thought that was pretty entertaining. So now we're on chapter 8, and we're going to go ahead and continue. I did a Google search, and I did find out that this game does have 15 chapters. So if we do 2 chapters per live stream, that means we have 4 live streams left, 4 days left, and probably about 4 hours left, assuming that every chapter is about a half hour, and the average about a half hour. So we're going to go ahead and continue from where we left off with Janice dragging Drake back home. Colvin says, "Drake, thank the gods. Are you alright?" And he's like, "No, I'm definitely not alright," says Drake, half sobbing while gingerly stroking his butt. Oh, that's too funny. Wonder why he's rubbing his butt. "I only dragged him until we were out of the alley. If only my arms hadn't got tired. But apparently he's still in pain. I wonder, though, which was hurt more, his butt or his pride?" I think she hurt his pride pretty good when she basically whooped his ass, was able to dodge his magical spells and flip him over end, face first into the dirt. "I'll stand still. I'll cast a heal on you." Commander also offered to heal Drake on her way home, but I stopped him. It was just a little pain. Let the boy suffer. I mean, let him man up a little bit. That's kind of funny. She almost says, "Let the boy suffer." I mean, let him man up a little bit. I would agree with Janice here. But I guess this time, I'll let Mr. Sherwood go ahead and heal him. Well, that's nice of you, Janice. Mr. Sherwood's hand glows white as he casts a spell. Ta-da! Wouldn't it be nice if we had that kind of magic here on Earth? Are you alright now? Drake stays silent. He leaves us and totters towards the house. Drake? Oh, don't worry, he's fine. Oriel says, I'll look after him. He's probably just needs something to eat and a good night rest. Miss Sherwood follows Drake into the house. Well, at least he's back. It's good to see you back safe and sound as well, Janice. Mr. Sherwood turns to the commander. Thank you very much for protecting her, Commander. Oh, it was my pleasure, sir. Oh, Wolf, you're back. Good job finding the boy there. Janice deserves all the credit. Is that so? Ho ho ho! I didn't think little Janice was so resourceful. Well, it's nearly sundown. Can we go home for now and come back tomorrow? Surely you're tired after looking for that boy. Honestly, I'm not that tired, but I'm sure Jock would agree with holding the meeting off until tomorrow now. Yes, and I'm sure Colton would also. What's wrong? Did someone just scream? It wasn't Drake, was it? Scream? You didn't hear that? No. Huh, did anyone else? Colton says, no, I didn't. Janice says, I didn't hear anything either. Oh, how strange. Maybe it was just my imagination. Huh. Janice says, Mr. Sherwood, we still have vacant rooms, right? Yes, why? Isn't that nice, Poe? Mr. Sherwood can get you treated right away. Hey, what did you mean by that? That's funny. I think she's basically saying he's a lunatic. He's hearing shit. And Colton gets a laugh out of that. Ha ha ha, that wasn't nice, Janice. Well, some of our inmates like to yell and scream, so it's possible somebody did scream. Ah, I see. Speaking of vacant rooms, since it's already so late, why don't you gentlemen spend the night here? Of course, that's only if you don't mind staying with some lunatics here. I wouldn't mind at all, but I don't want to impose on your hospitality. Not at all, Commander. It's the least I could do after what you did for us. Very well. I gratefully accept your offer. Well, thank you, Commander. And you, Professor? I appreciate the offer, but I'll have to pass. My wife and kids are waiting at home. Oh, I see. Would you at least like to stay for dinner? Oh, I suppose I could do that. Well, thank you, Professor. And Lord Godwin? Do you think he will object? I don't believe he will, but where is Joff anyway? Janice? While Commander Poe and Mr. Sherwood are still talking, a familiar voice calls out to me. Oh, it's Candela. Janice, come with me. What is it? Just come with me. Oh boy. Do we follow her or not follow her? My curiosity is gonna get the best of me. I'm gonna follow her. I follow Candela as she patters back to where she's from. Candela makes me hide behind a tree. Heck! She points at a man and a woman standing face to face, not far from where we're hiding. Uh-oh. Ina and Lord Godwin. I wanted to apologize for what happened the other day. It was extremely rude of me. Oh, don't worry about it. You're not angry? Not at all. Ew, I've been worried sick, haha. Thank you, my lord. Oh, you don't have to change the way you address me. The way you called me before was fine. What? But I don't think we're close enough for me to call you... That kind of thing doesn't bother me at all. Well, it bothers me a little, I guess. Is that so? Even Janice didn't have a problem with it. Janice? Seriously? Yeah. I see. Well, if that's your wish. Ina starts fidgeting. A blush crept across her face. Are you sure about this? Yeah, I'm sure. Very well. Sweetie? Not that! She calls him sweetie. Huh? Huh? Even from this distance, I can see Joff's eyebrows are twitching now. I mean my given name, Joff, not sweetie. Now she's really gonna blush. Yep, Ina's face turns as red as a tomato. I bet that if you put a kettle full of water on her head, the water would just start boiling. I'm sorry. Janice was right. I'm an idiot. Look at that. A little dramatic, I think. Just forget that ever happened and just call me Jaw from now on. Yes, yes. We shall never speak of this again. Huh. Okay. Long pause. Almost in sync, the two of them look away from each other, and for a while, they just say nothing. Hehe. Ina's exuding a pink aura. There's roses swirling around her. You're exaggerating, Candela. Ha 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 ha! Admittedly, it's a pretty accurate description of what it looks like right now. It's funny. Finally, Joff breaks the silence. So, Miss Polidori, can I ask you something? Yes, and you can call me Ina. I understand, Ina. You're a nurse here, right? Yes, that's right. Do your responsibilities include managing the mana potions, for example, placing orders or picking up any of the deliveries? No, I can give mana potions to inmates as needed, but that's the extent of my work with them. But what about the other nurses or any of the other employees? As far as I know, none of us are responsible for any of the potions. So they are handled directly by the owners then? I guess so. Isn't that strange? Huh? No, never mind. Do you know where the potions come from at all? No, the potions come in boxes and I don't recall seeing a brand or anything like that. Nothing is written on the bottles either. Is there anything else that you know about the potions? No. Are they of any particular interest to you? Well, in a way, yes. Okay, I'll be sure to let you know if I find any more information about them. That would be helpful. By the way, there's something else I've been wondering about this madhouse here. What is that? Why did they only build 2 houses on such a large plot of land? Couldn't they just build them somewhere else in the city? Other than the 2 houses, it's just a massive lawn with bushes and trees. It feels like a wasted opportunity. Now that you mention it, I wonder why they did that. Maybe they wanted a big area for the children to play around in? And then there is... Joff turns his head towards the structure in the big yard. That foundation. It looks like that building was going to be rather massive, and it looks as if it hasn't been touched in a very long time. What were they going to build there, do you know? Oh, it was already like that when I started working here, but Mr. Sherwood has never said anything about it at all. Joff turns to Ina again. So, you don't know anything then? Huh. No, I'm sorry. I'll ask around and let you know if I learn of anything. Well, thank you, Ina. Oh, you're welcome, Joff. Well, if you'll excuse me, I need to find my friends. They're probably waiting for me. Sure. Goodbye, Ina. Well, goodbye, Joff. I mean, sweetie. Phew. That was nerve-wracking. Thankfully, Joff is an understanding person. The way he's always so composed makes him seem so mature. And so smart. Uh-oh. I think she's gonna get teased. Oh, she comes up and adds in that, he's handsome. Yeah, she's got a crush on him. Yeah, I think so. And handsome. And handsome, yes. Romantic. Romantic. Dreamy. Candela. Janice? Hi. How long have you been here? Ahem. I wanted to apologize for what happened the other day. It was extremely rude of me. Don't worry about it. Thank you, my lord. What the hell? It's Candela talking to herself? Yep. Not my lord. The way you called me before was fine. Oh my god, she's mocking the whole conversation. This is hilarious. Oh my lord, but we are so close enough to address each other so intimately. That kind of thing bothers me not. If it is your wish, I shall be happy to oblige. It is my wish, dear Ina. Sweetie! Yep, she's definitely teasing her. Oh, that's funny. Ina, may I ask you something? Speak your mind, sweetie. Do you know about the mana potions in this madhouse? Alas, sweetie, I know not about them, but I will go to the ends of the earth to find out. I thank you, my dear Ina. It's not like me, I'm doing this for you, Babaka. Oh my god. What's that supposed to mean? I never said anything like that. And Janice says, so you admit you said everything else? No! And what is Baka? Oh my god, that's too fucking funny. The voices. You like my voices, huh? I try. The sofa cushion felt nice on Aiden Wolf's back. Even a dragoon would get tired after all that walking. He recognized the same feeling of comfort from the man sitting across from him, but Colton Sherwood's relief was probably more from knowing the boy that he had been worrying about all afternoon had returned safely home. Aiden glanced at Johann Poe. The professor still looked as energetic as ever. At sundown, Sherwood had invited Aiden and Johann inside. They now sat around a small coffee table in the living room. For a while, they just savored the silence. Sherwood's behavior today was puzzling. Aiden had been investigating the eclipse on the assumption that it was just a front for Sherwood's illegal dealings. He still suspected Sherwood to be using inmates for his own benefit, but the alienist's worry about Drake today had seemed genuine enough. A little excessive, in fact. On the other hand, Aiden remembered Oriel Sherwood had been able to maintain her composure and seemed less worried about Drake's disappearance. Her reaction wasn't incriminating in any way, but something about it bothered Aiden. If only one side of the Sherwood couple was behind the illegal mana business, Aiden might have to consider a scenario in which the wife was a mastermind while the husband was kept in the dark. Ooh. Is he onto something? Aiden's thoughts were interrupted by a scream that sounded distant, muffled, but it was still very clear. He pricked his ears. The barely audible scream continued. Was that Drake? No, Aiden guessed the voice belonged to somebody even younger. Wait, hadn't Johann mentioned a scream earlier in the day? Aiden looked at the professor, and indeed it was clear that he had heard the same thing. This time Aiden spoke up. What's that? Someone screaming? Ah, you heard it too this time. Colton comes in and says, Oh, don't worry, Colton Sherwood assured them. It's one of the boys. He regularly uses the seclusion room. Okay. The seclusion room? Yes, we have a small room at the back of the building where anyone can go in and yell as loud as they want. We try to make it soundproof, but as you can tell, it's an arduous task. Oh, that's an interesting room. The screaming then stopped. After a minute of silence, they could hear the weak sound of a door opening and closing, followed by fading footsteps. Professor, Sherwood broke his silence. Is there someone you hate so much that all you want to do is kill them? What? A weird question. Johann looked taken aback by the question. Yeah, I'm taken aback as well. A yelling room. Ooh, that makes sense. Johann looked taken aback by the question. No, and I hope I never will. Yeah, never hate someone so much that he wants to kill him? An odd question. What about you, Commander? Someone Aiden wanted to kill? Well, there was one such person, but he was no longer alive. Damn. No, sir, he answered simply. Well, that boy hates himself so much that he actually wants to kill himself. Sherwood stared at an empty spot on the wall. That's kind of sad. He's already tried it once. Damn. Neither Aiden nor Johann said anything in response, so the alienist continued. He used the levitation spell to fly as high as he could, reaching the height of a 5-story building before letting go of the spell completely. And for whatever reason, he did recast the spell at the very last second. It didn't completely stop his fall, but it slowed him down enough so that he didn't die instantly. A doctor managed to cast Revive on him in time. The doctor sent him here right away. Now, there's a good reason to go to the lunacy house, right? The madhouse. Aiden says, oh, he's lucky he didn't die. Sherwood flashed a bitter smile. I wonder if he would agree with you. Yeah, no kidding. If he wanted to commit Harry Carey that bad. Well, he doesn't want to die anymore, does he? Who knows? But why would he save himself if he truly wanted to die? Could just be survival instincts, Sherwood mused. The same instincts that make it impossible to commit suicide by just holding your breath, you know? Your body will try to breathe involuntarily. Or perhaps he just wasn't ready to become a murderer of himself. You see, Commander, someone who commits suicide has 2 roles to play. The victim and the murderer. Maybe the boy was ready to die, but not ready to kill. Well, even though his first attempt ended in failure, he may still be suicidal. He may still want to try it again. In most madhouses, this boy would never be given a mana potion. He's a danger to himself. Well, that does make sense. Do you still give him mana potions then? The professor inquired. Should I take away his magic? Well, if it is for his own good. Is it though? I understand why some madhouses choose to take away magic from their inmates, but I have an inmate who can't use magic at all. How could I force the very same madness onto another inmate? Well, that's a fair question. Johann muttered. I've always been curious about her madness. Magic deficiency disorder. It's a rare condition. And it's rather unfair that she has to live in a madhouse just because she can't use magic. I mean, aside from that, Janice thinks and behaves like a normal person, does she not? Oh, they're talking about Janice. They're talking about Janice here. Oh my god, I didn't even realize. I thought they were talking about another boy, but they're talking about Janice trying to commit suicide. And that's why she was brought here. But Janice, no, they could have been talking about Janice because Janice has no magic. Janice can't use magic, remember? I'm so confused. Not being able to use magic is not just because, Professor. Janice lives here because society needs her to be here. Well, think about it. Society is made up of people who interact with each other and work together. Since this group is mostly strangers happens to be made up of magicians, the way they function together is centered around the thing they can easily work with, magic. It just makes sense. It's practical. It's the best way, given the circumstances, for people to move forward together. So in order to function in, contribute to, and benefit from society, people need magic. Those who can't use magic are an inconvenience to everyone, not just themselves. It is in the best interest of society, therefore, to put those who can't cast magic into madhouses. Maybe it's unfair, but it's the way society was designed. Ultimately, it's working as intended. And this is true of all kinds of lunacy. People with constant mood swings are difficult to work with. People with hallucinations make trouble for everyone else. Those with suicidal thoughts are worrying. Society sends all of these people away to madhouses. Oh, that makes sense, Johann agreed. Does it, though? Sherwood asked rhetorically, as if to contradict himself now. Let's go back to magic and think for a moment. Is it impossible to make society work without magic? Would people start killing each other if magic didn't exist? Would people stop cooperating with each other if magic didn't serve as the bridge? Would people have trouble understanding each other if there was no magic? Would society have been stuck in the days of living on trees and hunting animals for food? Would there have even been no civilization at all? Well, he's got Johann's interest here. Well, Johann interjected, our country only discovered magic about 300 years ago, and our ancestors seem to be perfectly fine without it. Yes, Sherwood agreed. 291 years to be exact. It might be hard for people in today's overture to imagine, but life without magic did, in fact, exist. Well, that's true, the professor said. But life would be very different today if there was no magic here now. We've seen magic and how it's wait a minute. We've seen magic and have grown to rely on it for everything. Without magic now, there would be no technology, since it all relies on magic. Well, perhaps so, Sherwood responded. But on the other hand, if the discovery of magic had never happened, life without magic would have simply continued. That way of life would be considered the norm. We would never even know that we are missing anything. Perhaps we might have even discovered a different sort of technology. I mean, who knows? Johann nodded. Well, that's an interesting way to put it. But what are you getting at here? Well, what I'm trying to say, Professor, is that what we know now is considered normal, the ability to use magic, and abnormal, the inability to use magic. It was decided by a single event that happened by chance nearly 3 centuries ago now. An accident. Well, that's interesting, Hayden said. In other words, if Overture hadn't discovered magic 300 years ago, Janice wouldn't be considered mad at all right now. She'd be just like any other person. Yes, and we could say the same thing about any other lunacy. Take Drake, for instance. He has social anxiety that makes him nervous around people. What about the complete opposite? What if there was a condition that made someone nervous when they weren't around people? That's a good point. Like introverts and extroverts, Johann asked. Oh, not exactly, but yeah, pretty close. If we think of Drake's social phobia as an extreme version of introversion, surely we can imagine a similar extreme version of extroversion on the opposite end of the spectrum. Now, some people are comfortable with talking. Some people are equally uncomfortable with not talking. Both are equally insane in a way, but only the former are sent to madhouses, whereas, this is him talking still, Colton. Remember, Colton's the owner of this madhouse. Some people are equally uncomfortable with not talking. Some are both are equally insane in a way, but only the former are sent to madhouses, whereas only the extreme cases of the latter would warrant an admission to one. Well, what's the difference in treatment? Because talkative people are valuable to society. Just like the case with magic, society was designed around communication with people. And that's simply because, again, just as the case with magic, there are many more talkative people than socially anxious people. Society's functions are naturally formed with the majority in mind. Even people who are so overly talkative to the point of being annoying, therefore, are generally tolerated because they can still function in society normally. Sometimes their hyper-talkativity actually enables them to function so well that it is even celebrated as talent. Well, that's true even in our world, right? In contrast, even mild social anxiety can negatively affect one's ability to function in society, unless they adapt and force themselves to be more sociable. And that's why the two cases aren't treated similarly. Are you saying that people like Drake are discriminated against? Aiden asked. No, Sherwood said. It's not discrimination. It's similar to how society handles magic and non-magic users. It's what's practical. It's what benefits the greatest number of people possible. So that's what naturally happens. But do you know what that means? It means the difference between what's sane and what's insane is decided by one thing: statistics. Many things we take for granted as normal are nothing more than accidents of statistics. Statistically, the majority of people are magicians. The society is centered around magic as a way of life. Statistically, people love to talk. The society is built around communication. Statistically, people are cheerful. The society is designed to be a home for happy people. People on the wrong side of those statistics are expected to adapt to what is favored. Those who can't are branded mad and sent to madhouses so they can be made a little more like the majority. All because of a statistical accident. Trying to just figure out who's talking. I wish it would say like who's saying what in front of this, because I don't know who's talking, but it's all Colton here, I think, the owner of the madhouse. Phoenix TV says, working as intended, sometimes what's good for the mass isn't good for the individual. That's a great point there, Phoenix. Sounds like discrimination to me. Yeah, exactly. I would agree with you. Excuse me. Get a hydrate here real quick. I just like water. Alright. But just as life without magic is possible, it's not hard to imagine other kinds of societies where people who we brand are insane are the majority. If the majority of people didn't like to talk, would society cease to exist? Or would it just be less reliant on the direct communication and instead favor a different method of bringing people together? If the majority of people were hallucinating on a daily basis, would society just collapse? Or would it just build itself around hallucinations? We're talking about talking too much. It sounds like Colton's here is talking a lot right now. Well, I'm not sure about society built around hallucinations, Aiden said. That sounds crazy. Crazy, perhaps, Sherwood replied. But remember that a society of non-magicians is actually possible. as hard as that is to imagine today. The only reason we have the society we ended up with is because of the many completely arbitrary accidents of statistics. Colton Sherwood stopped to catch his breath, but after a while he continued. And that's another reason I don't take magic away from that suicidal boy. Just like his lunacy, it's a part of who he is. This madhouse was made to be a home for mad people, those born on the wrong side of those statistics. Eclipse is not a correctional facility. I don't try to make the mad become normal. Even if you can teach inmates to be normal, that's basically forcing them to pretend to be someone that they're not for the rest of their lives. I can understand that. And if they don't, society will reject them. Society doesn't understand these people, so they are being blindly hostile towards them. Lunatics can't survive among the normal people. It's a dangerous place full of people who are ignorant and intolerant. I would agree with that as well. But here, Eclipse is safe. They don't have to fear rejection. They don't have to be normal here. What my wife and I are giving them is a place where they can be who they are. A place where they can be safe from society. A shelter from the outside world, if you will. They can live here forever, without any worries. Well, that is a good cause. Forgive me, Sherwood said. I just kept blathering on and on about my own work here. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And Johann says, "Oh, not at all," Johann interjected. "I found it very interesting. I've never thought about madness that way. You must really love the children here." "Oh yes, Oriel and I have been married for a long time, but we don't have any children. We treat every child here as if they were our own." Well, isn't that loving? Johann and Sherwood continued to talk, but Aiden had stopped participating in that discussion. He was lost in his own thoughts now. A shelter, Colton Sherwood called it. They can live here forever, he had claimed. Aiden Wolf wasn't sure he liked how that sounded. Okay. And here we are, going on to chapter 9. Sanity is overrated. We're just kind of talking about this, huh? The normal, sane, people that are unaccepted by the normal go to the madhouse and rejected and called lunatics. That's why it's a lunacy house. It's a damn ceiling again. I retreated to my room not long after dinner, and now, a goddamn eternity later, the ceiling is still mocking me. I don't know what tired me out so much, but all I want to do now is just sleep. Sleep and forget everything. Sleep and not have to think about anything anymore. Sleep and just stay asleep for as long as I want, for once. Was my search for Drake so exhausting? No, I don't think that's it. I wonder how he's doing right now. I used to only think of him as a bully, but now that I know about his condition, I actually feel sorry for him. Yeah, I think it's easy to feel sorry for Drake now. What's it like to live with social phobia? It must be pretty awful to see all those people around you, and all you can feel is sheer loneliness. I wonder if Drake also stares at his ceiling at night and laments his condition. No, as misguided as it was, Drake actually did something to overcome his anxiety. He just became a bully so he could interact with others. I admire that determination. If I were him, I would just lock myself up in my room and make it a sanctuary where I could be all alone. I'd find comfort. I'd feel safe. I could, like this, like now. Right now, all I can do is have a staring contest with a damn ceiling. Drake is anxious. Drake is anxious around people. But does that mean he feels safe and comfortable when he's all alone? When a mage is chased by a group of enemy magicians in a battle, will he feel safe when he finds a hiding place? No. Escape doesn't provide comfort or safety. At best, it's just a temporary relief. Drake doesn't want to be alone any more than a mage wants to hide from his enemies. He wouldn't have to become a bully if he did. But now he has to hide yet again. And it's because of me. I made his condition even worse. It's all my damn fault. Oh, Janice is guilt tripping herself now. Phoenix says, sounds like a typical excuse. Huh? I took away the only thing that had helped him feel normal. His bullying? Yeah, she whooped his ass so she didn't get bullied by him, and now she's feeling guilty because she stood up for herself? Yeah, that's a silly guilt trip. It's all my fault. Now Drake has to be alone, all alone again, and it's all my goddamn fault. It's all my fault. I'm a terrible person. I should be the one who has Drake's madness. It wouldn't matter if I had social phobia. On the contrary, I would save people from having to deal with such a terrible person, like me. I don't have any friends anyway, so it wouldn't matter to me. And it doesn't matter. I just want to sleep. I sit up in my bed, showered by darkness. I stare off into space. My silence is my harmony with the night. I just want to sleep. What time is it now? Not too long ago, I could still hear faint chatter from downstairs. I just want to sleep. A warm drop of water lands on my arm. I want to sleep. I hear sobbing, and then there's another drop of water. Is it water or a tear? A pair of rivulets run down my cheeks, more sobbing. I close my eyes, and the streams widen. So it's her crying, she's sobbing. As water hits her own tears, hitting her bare arm. Just remember, she sat up in bed. Man, yeah. Phoenix says, poor chick, I know that feeling. I was bullied as a kid, too. Yeah. And not feeling like she's normal and feeling like she can't fit in with society because she has no magic. I bite my lip to quiet the sobbing down, but it only makes my cheeks wetter. Even more sobbing now, muffled but louder. Mucus oozes out of my nose. I wipe it with the back of my hand, but even more comes out. I can feel the muscles in my face contorting in ways they don't normally. My face is all wet now and gooey and gross. It only gets worse with every sob. In paintings, they often see beautiful women portrayed with melancholic expressions, with one or two tears trickling down their cheeks. They always look so lovely, so vulnerable, and so delicate, so it's bittersweet. Real crying looks nothing like that. Even the most beautiful woman would look ugly when she cried for real. I can only imagine how grotesque I must look right now. I don't know why I'm crying. The tears just decided to come out by themselves, and I had no way of stopping them. Am I sad? No, I don't think so. I can't say that I'm particularly happy, but sad? What would I be sad about? I'm crying for no reason at all. But that's okay. Sometimes I want to cry for just no reason. It's not sadness that makes you want to cry. I don't really know what it is. It's just an urge. I really can't explain it. And that's okay. It feels good, but I don't know, it feels good to cry. My crying stops as abruptly as it started. I sit quietly in my bed, no longer sobbing despite my still damp eyes. The night is still silent. The room is still dark. I don't feel any different from before when I started crying, or while I was crying. My heart just feels empty, and I feel nothing. I don't know what to think about that. Maybe I should try to think happier thoughts, but I don't have any memories I could really describe as happy. That's really... How sad is that? We have a 13-year-old girl here who is sobbing her eyes out. She can't stop crying, but she feels nothing. She feels nothing in her heart. She just wants to sleep, and in a way, I think that's basically saying she just wants to sleep for good. She just doesn't want to exist anymore in this world that has ejected her from society, in a world that sent her to a madhouse when she was a young girl because she can't cast magic like normal people can. And she just wants to cease to exist. She doesn't want to cry. She wants to remember, cling to some kind of happy memory, but she has none. She doesn't have any memories that she would describe as happy. That is heartbreaking, I think. That really is heartbreaking. Phoenix says, I don't fit into society for several reasons, but I'm at peace with that these days. I don't want to be a part of the typical mass that backstabs, shit talks, and causes trouble, and generally just treats each other like shit. Pardon my French. Yeah, Phoenix says, poor child. Olivia comes in. Hey, Libby, how you doing, hon? Welcome in. Alright. Yeah, this is really sad. The closest thing to happy I can think of is probably when I'm with Candela. Oh my god, that's happy? It's fun to watch her take on anything life throws at her without a care in the world. I remember Candela innocently laughing at her own joke. Maybe we should be like Candela and find happiness even in the little things in life. I would agree with that 100%. I think I've even said that before in many streams. Happiness isn't in the pursuit of money or success, or, we shouldn't try to pursue things that are literally impossible, right, for us to achieve. Why would we say, okay, I'm going to be happy once I make X amount of money, when we may never get there? Why would we say, hey, I'm going to be happy when I meet or fall in love with X person, this other person is going to make me happy? One thing I've learned in life is that you have to be happy within. You're never going to find a partner who can fill that emptiness and that void. You have to learn to be happy from within. Happiness comes from within you, and if you can't be happy alone, you're never going to find somebody to fill that inner void. You have to fill that yourself. And while you're pursuing all this stuff and while you're living your life, you have to learn to find happiness in the small everyday things that we take for granted each and every day. The things that we see each and every day, whether it be our love or desire for drinking coffee. Maybe you love coffee with, cinnamon roll creamer, like I do. Maybe you love French toast. Maybe you love the crunch of cereal as you eat it. Maybe you find a small happiness or joy in petting your kitty cat and having your kitty jump on your lap and purr in your arms, or whatever it is. All these little things that we take for granted each and every day, and we all do. We need to learn to find happiness and inner joy and a way to smile from the everyday simple things. And so I couldn't agree more than what she's talking about. Maybe we should all be like Candela and find happiness in the little everyday things of life. Phoenix says, I love coffee. Libby says, or you can be basic like me, and seeing the sun in the trees makes you happy. Yeah, exactly. The sun, looking through the tree branches and seeing the sun and the way the sun rays shine through the trees, the way the gentle summer breeze feels on your bare skin on a hot day. It's that breeze that feels so good against your skin. Things like that, right, Libby? It's those simple little everyday things that we all take for granted. We've got to learn to find happiness and be able to smile from just those little things. And like I've said before, maybe it's seeing a baby smile, a baby you've never seen before in the supermarket. Ladies holding up a little toddler, and the toddler looks directly at you and smiles. Maybe it's the way your kid or your parent, maybe it's the way when they pat you on the back or give you a hug. Maybe it's the warmth and the feeling, the cozy feeling you get from feeling that family hug. Any of those things can bring us joy if we stop taking them for granted. Exactly. So, yeah, I like this. Even sane people have so many requirements that need fulfilled in order to be happy, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Why should we go for these requirements, or I need to have this happen to be happy? I need to make X amount of money. I need to meet the love of my life. I need somebody to fill my emptiness. I need to, all these things that we strive for and we reach for, but we never really grasp. Things that can make us happy are right here each and every day. We just take them for granted. How many people take their own family for granted? Think about that. How many people take their own family for granted? How many people take their spouse for granted? If it's not money, it's love or friendship. And if it's not those, they also need a sense of achievement to fulfill a fulfillment or some sort. Artists need appreciation for their work. Well, scientists need acknowledgement from their peers. Sports athletes need to win at least some of the time. Think about that. Think about how true that is. Think about these words, guys. These words couldn't hit home with more truth. Sports athletes need to win. Think about like the Dallas Cowboys when they got their asses trounced by the 49ers just last week. They were super bummed out. Some of them were over there crying. The fans of the Cowboys were crying in the stadium. I was really upset. But imagine how the athletes themselves feel. Imagine how the Cowboys felt when they went in there hoping to win a big game and they got their asses kicked. Imagine, again, feeling like you have to achieve something. You have to achieve, or you have to get appreciation for your work, or you have to get acknowledgement from your studies or your successes in life. Well, I need this acknowledgement. I need money. I need to find true love. I need to be appreciated. I need to win, whatever it is. And this is what I'm talking about, reaching for things that we may or may not ever hold, instead of looking at our simple everyday things that we have right here and now that we take for granted. There's no such thing as easy happiness. Well, unless you're mad enough. If you could be as carefree as Candela, you would be happy all the time. Those needs would make no difference to you at all. Sanity is overrated. And that was the name of this chapter. I really, really, really like this chapter. Libby said she came for my throat with the artist one there. Yeah, and you came in just in time to see that, Libby. Hidden messages, huh? And she goes on saying, I just want to sleep, damn it. I wipe away my tears and snot still left on my face, and I decide to get up. That's so sad. And here it is nighttime. I wander aimlessly outside. Everyone is sound asleep at this hour. And imagine, she's only 13 years old. Pretty wise little girl, huh? Except for me and somebody else. I see a man standing alone in the yard, gazing up at the moon. And it's Aiden. No, we're not going to go back to our room. We got up for a reason, and I think she respects Aiden. And by the way, Aiden may need somebody to talk to. Maybe Aiden needs her wisdom. Maybe Aiden needs to understand that, hey, you need to start finding happiness in the simple things, right? Phoenix says, same thing can be said for creators. We need encouragement and feedback and support. Yeah, exactly. Just like myself, a creator. Yep, we want appreciation. I create video games. I want people to enjoy my video games and say how good they are. Or anybody, a mechanic does this job and he does it for pay, but I guarantee you mechanics love people that say, hey, job well done. You fixed my car. You're a great mechanic or whatever. Everybody loves that kind of acknowledgement. Phoenix says, but at the same time, we also almost always need to remember to appreciate and take joy in interacting in the little parts. Exactly. So, do you guys think we should go back to our room or talk to the commander? Commander Aiden. Yep, that's what I'm thinking, Libby. We're going to talk to Aiden. All right. Commander? Janice, why are you here this late at night? And probably the same reason you are. The commander smiles at my answer. If I told you to go back to your room and sleep, would you do it? No. I love that. I love her brutal honesty. I love the brutal honesty there. If I asked you to go back to your room and sleep, would you do it? No. And he's like, thought so. I stand beside Commander. We let the chilly night air comfort us in silence while we watch the sky. That is so cool. You know, Libby, you're here and I know you like doing art. You need to draw something like this image right here. I love this image. Like, you should draw like a father and his daughter, or a mother and her son. Maybe a father and his daughter, or maybe even a couple. Just looking at the night sky, a full moon with dark clouds all around. I love that image so much. If I could have a painting similar to that on my wall, like a huge painting of this image right here, I would 100% love that. I would love that. I would love to have like a big painting, like a professional painting like this on my wall. I just love that. If I let my imagination go, I'd probably have like maybe a mountain lake out here, maybe a couple of pine trees or a couple of trees. You know, not a whole lot of details in the trees, just dark trees without a lot of detail. Most of the detail would be in the full moon and maybe the light of the moon shining off the clouds. Yeah, but I really love that image. Phoenix says, yeah, that's beautiful. Libby says, oh yeah, I'm appreciating it. It's almost a full moon. Do you like the moon? I don't hate it. I see. Commander, did you know that lunacy is caused by the full moon? Wow. Is that right? Yeah, people go mad whenever there's a full moon. And that's why it's called lunacy. Luna means moon. Oh wow. Did you guys know that? I don't think I've ever heard that or knew that. Lunacy. Luna means moon, and people go mad whenever there's a full moon. That's interesting. You know that the moon affects the tides in the ocean, right? Yes, the high tides are higher during full moons. I did know that. Well, the human brain's mostly made up of water, too. It's something like 70%. That means it's also affected by the same magical power that the moon has over the tides. Is that so? I never knew anything about that. Well, now you do. Yes, that's interesting. Wait, what about the new moon? The tides are just as high during the new moons. Ha 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 ha! Don't believe everything that people tell you, Commander. That's so cute. Here she is talking to the commander like this, just like a friendship. Was that just a lie? Who knows? That theory was actually proposed by some really smart philosophers from the ancient times. Some people still believe it to this very day. Though I personally think it's a load of crap. The moon's power can barely affect lakes, let alone something with a fraction of the water. And you already pointed out the inconsistency with the new moon. Besides, it doesn't matter whether it's a new moon, crescent moon, half moon, or full moon. Candela's just as weird no matter what. I like that. And I still can't use magic. He just pauses. Can I tell you something else? Sure. Everyone has a family name, right? Candela is Candela Carroll. Ina is Ina Polidori. Fia is Fia Leone. Drake is Drake Perrault. But Janice is just Janice. Well, why don't you have a family name? Because I don't have a family. I think I came from a pretty rich, or no, she says, I think I came from a pretty rich family. My house was like half as large as this building, even though only my parents and I lived there with a few servants. Probably some kind of nobility? So when my parents learned that their child couldn't use magic, they just freaked out. They called the teachers from all over Overture to try and teach me magic. Some of them were famous magical scientists. Some were battle mages even. Some were athletes in magical sports. But nobody could get me to cast a single spell. When I was 8, they sent me to this madhouse. They kept checking on me for about a year, but then I never saw them again. That is so sad. That's so heartbreaking. Wow. Libby says she had never heard that, but it makes more sense now that I've heard people asking if a full moon is when people are acting like a mess. Phoenix says, yeah, it's mostly people that are sensitive to stuff like that suffer lunacy during the full moons. And Libby says, I'm gonna believe her. The full moon makes people crazy. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting conversation. I like this chapter here a lot. I really do. This is heartbreaking here, though. Janice says her family just kept coming to the madhouse, and she hasn't seen them in years now. Probably like 4 years now. And she doesn't even have their last name. That's pretty sad. They never told me they weren't coming back, but I must have sensed the finality in their goodbyes, because after their last visit, I always told everyone to just call me Janice. Maybe I hated the sound of my own surname because it reminded me of my family who abandoned me. Ouch. That does make sense, though. Just call me Janice. Please don't call me by my last name. It reminds me of my family that left me. Again, heartbreaking. And before I knew it, I had completely forgotten my surname. Mr. and Miss Sherwood probably still know, but I've never bothered to ask. So Janice is just Janice. He's kind of quiet. I must be such a disgrace to have a child, or it must be such a disgrace to have a child who can't even use magic. Oh, is that so? Well, my parents apparently thought so. They'd rather throw me away than let me tarnish their family name. God, man, she is just going through so much. I mean, I think we're starting to see why poor Janice sits up at night and cries, not knowing why she's crying at night, why she looks at the ceiling instead of being able to sleep. Why Janice just wants to sleep and escape. And she's probably felt like this for a long time. She feels like her own parents, and her parents did pretty much throw her away. They dropped her off at the madhouse, checked up on her for about a year, and then never bothered to come back. She probably feels like her parents just threw her away because she couldn't use magic. That is heartbreaking for sure. They probably paid Mr. and Miss Sherwood in advance for my stay here, but I don't know for how long. For all I know, I could get kicked out any day now. Commander, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Do you think I'll ever learn how to use magic? He doesn't respond. Commander gazes at the moon again, and for a while he says nothing. When he finally speaks, there's a somber tone in his voice. One day, I took my 4-year-old daughter out to buy some new toys. My wife was waiting at home. When we came home, I was shocked to find the door open, so I rushed inside. The house was a disaster. There was stuff scattered all over the place. I ignored all of it, and I ran as fast as I could to my room, shouting my wife's name. Commander pauses to take a deep breath before he continues. Oh my. There, I saw my wife lying in a pool of blood with a giant rock jutting out of the floor through a hole in her chest. I could see the horrific look on her face, and next to her was a man wearing a black mask. Oh my god. How haunting would that be? How fucking haunting would that be? Running home, seeing the door open, the house a mess, you run for your room, you see your wife lying in a pool of blood with a giant rock jutting out of the chest through the floor and making a hole in her chest. A horrific look on her face. Wow, and next to her was a man wearing a black mask. I was stunned. I couldn't believe my eyes. I just wanted to scream, but it felt like something was stuck in my throat. The man warned me not to move, and he aimed his trembling hand at me. I could see his bloodshot eyes bulging wide through his ski mask. I heard a yell, "Mommy!" and saw my daughter dart past me to her mother's lifeless body. Oh my god, this is heartbreaking. I'm gonna cry. I know this is a fictitious story about a magical world and all this, but this image that we're talking about with Commander Aiden Wolf's wife, and now his 4-year-old daughter coming in and seeing her dead mother with a rock protruding through her chest and blood everywhere. A horrific look as she died on her mom's face. That's so heartbreaking, and the reason I say this is because you know stuff like this happens in real life, right? Think about how many times, probably every year, little kids probably wake up. Maybe their mother is doing drugs, or maybe one of their parents takes their own life while the kid's asleep or whatever. And the kid actually wakes up and finds mom or dad dead. This stuff happens every day in real life. We don't want to think about it, but this fictitious novel here is making me think, this stuff happens. This isn't just total make-believe. Shit like this happens. There's kids that have woken up probably hundreds of times in the last month. There's probably hundreds of kids in the world that woke up to find their mother, their father, somebody they hold on to with everything they have. They're only 3, 4, 5 years old, and they wake up to find everything dead. It breaks my heart to even think of this, and this visual novel here is making me think that stuff like this actually does happen. This isn't only in make-believe stories, and it's really sad. Really sad. Libby says, I know the feeling. I have my biological father's name, middle and last name. I just want to get rid of them. Well, so you kind of empathize with Janice here then, huh, Libby? Phoenix says, yeah, I don't tell people about mine, Libby. Just always remember that you are you, and I'm sure you are nothing like them. Sure, gives her hugs. Yep, really sad. Wolf says, Aiden Wolf goes on to say, the robber must have been shocked to see somebody suddenly running at him because he cast a spell. A blast of wind exploded from his hand. Since I was still in shock, I failed to react fast enough. Oh my god, this spell is gonna kill this little girl, ain't it? The wind crushed my little girl's head into a wall. OMG. As if it wasn't bad enough, as if we wasn't feeling empathy enough for poor Janice crying her eyes out and wanting to just sleep and not wake up and all that good stuff because her family left her and threw her away and threw her in the madhouse and never came back. Now Wolf speaks up and has even a more heartbreaking story. Damn. Libby says, I don't need all this sad talk at 3 a.m. and Phoenix says, Jesus. The wind from this guy's hand crushes his little 4-year-old baby girl's head into a wall, as if losing his wife wasn't bad enough. I can only imagine Wolf fucking at that moment probably just reacted on instinct and destroyed this fucking guy and ripped him in half. Commander's expression didn't change much, but I can see his moonlit face overtaken by sorrow. Ashley was already dead by the time I caught her body in my arms. That's so fucking heartbreaking. He caught his little girl's body and she was already dead. He shuts his eyes as his lips quiver for a moment. He opens his eyes again and just stares at the moon. That was 9 years ago. So Ashley was his little girl. If Ashley were still alive, she'd be your age now, Janice. Wow. Wow. You know what this reminds me of, guys? This reminds me of, I don't know if you guys have played The Last of Us, the video game, or seen the amazing miniseries that was made after The Last of Us. And this reminds me so much of Joel, losing his daughter in The Last of Us when she was around the same age, I do believe. And she got shot. And he lost his little girl. And then, he was clinging to Ellie in The Last of Us as kind of like his own daughter. I kind of wonder if the same kind of thing's going to happen to here. He's going to start seeing Janice as like his own daughter because he misses his little girl Ashley so fucking much. This is heartbreaking. Libby says, starting to think we should have stayed in our room. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Libby's correct. We had a choice, remember, to go out and talk to the commander or stay in a room or walk back to a room or whatever when we saw him out in the yard. Yeah, remember, she had a choice to go back to her room or go talk to the commander. Now Libby's saying, yeah, we probably shouldn't have talked to the commander. Should have just went back to our room, and even crying in our room would be better than hearing all this. Phoenix is like, oh, I seen a huge grip. I seen a huge grip of the game itself. He's already protective of her. Yeah, this is an amazing visual novel. I'm so glad that I played this. That was 9 years ago. If Ashley were still alive, she'd still be your age, Janice. But now, Wolf is just Aiden Wolf. Janice pauses now. Janice almost never pauses. What happened to the robber? Yeah, what happened to the fucking bastard who killed your wife and your daughter? That's a great question, but I don't know it's the right time to ask. I'd rather not talk about the details. Let's just say it was the most horrible thing I've ever done in my life. Remember what I just said a few minutes ago? Yeah, Phoenix is like, he did. Yeah. He probably fucking in instinct. It would be 100% instinct in that moment of rage to see this fucker that took your wife's life, and then the fact that he took your own 4-year-old daughter and fucking killed her with his fucking magic. Yeah, I bet you he got ripped in half in a fucking heartbeat. I'd rather not talk about the details, Janice. Let's just say it was the most horrible thing I've ever done in my whole life. And you know that moment of actually killing that fucker, you know that moment probably haunts him. Because Aiden Wolf seems like a really good dude. And when you have a really big heart and you're a really good dude, doing something like that, even if it's well-deserved, even if the fucker deserved to die, you know that's going to haunt him for the rest of his life, right? Commander slowly shifts his gaze to me. We stare into each other's eyes. It's extremely difficult to learn magic after a certain age, Janice. There are people outside Overture who've never known magic at all. Even if we gave them mana potions, they wouldn't magically be able to use magic. It would already be too late for their bodies to naturally learn how to control the flow of mana, or how to activate the magical traits, or how to invoke the magical abilities. Those are things that magicians subconsciously learn during infancy through imitation. We imitate our parents with magic the same way we do for walking, talking. When Overture discovered magic in one of our colonies, our ancestors couldn't use it right away either. They had to get the natives to teach their children, their children's children, until our people mastered it. So no, the truth is you'll probably never be able to use magic. I suspected as much. But as a father who lost his own daughter, let me tell you this. If I could have my Ashley back, I wouldn't care if she could use magic or not. I'd happily accept my daughter, whether she could use magic or she couldn't. That's so fucking awesome. I love that, guys. I love this visual novel now. And it seems like it just continues to get better and better and better. And I don't want to play too much of spoiler. If you guys haven't listened to the successor, it was actually came out on Steam about a year before this did. But An Octave Higher is also a very, really well done visual novel. An Octave Higher is quite a bit longer than this one, but it really goes into this whole overture thing, the mana. It goes over a lot of. It just goes. It's so good. The politics of it. Just so many like things that we debate about now today and stuff like that. This Overture is an amazing visual novel. And if you guys haven't listened to my playthrough of that, you can find it on my YouTube channel. Highly recommend you listen to An Octave Higher, maybe while you're waiting for me to continue on with part 4. Actually, yeah, this will actually be this is part 4 now, so part 5, which we'll do here in a few days, I hope. But guys, I do want to go ahead and give you just a little spoiler because today's episode was just so sad. I hope that you guys can find maybe a little bit of happiness here with the fact it's obviously easy to just fall in love with Janice, no last name. And I think it's easy to really admire and look at Commander Hayden, who just talked about his wife and daughter. Well, Aiden Wolf, the commander, is talking to Janice. They're obviously connecting. I can tell you guys that I do remember very well from An Octave Higher, which An Octave Higher happens about 20 to 30 years after this. This is actually a prequel to An Octave Higher. In the very start of An Octave Higher, Janice Wolf is the name that we see. Janice Wolf. Woollf. Just like Aiden Wolf. So, I don't know exactly how it comes about, but we do know, and if you had listened to An Octave Higher, we know from that one that Janice has a last name of Wolf 20 or 30 years later in the visual novel An Octave Higher. So I am really, really curious exactly how that comes into play. How exactly does Commander Aiden Wolf offer his last name to Janice? And what will her reaction be? Will she cry? Will she just be overjoyed? Will poor Janice be able to find some kind of happiness with getting his last name? I really, really look forward to seeing how that all comes into play, and I'm sure it will at some point before this visual novel comes to an end. So, I'm really loving this, guys. I really am. I wish that the developers who made An Octave Higher in this particular visual novel, I wish they had more visual novels that they've done, but they really haven't done anything in the last 5 or 6 years. They've just stopped making visual novels. That's kind of sad to me. When I find a really good visual novel, I obviously want to check out other things that the same developers have done. But no such luck with these particular developers. So if the developers happen to be listening to this, please, please, please write another visual novel. Write another part of this whole Octave Higher Overture magical world. Because I'm really enjoying this stuff. So I would love to see them create another chapter in the Octave Higher Overture saga, if you would. Anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We'll continue with part 5 here in a few days. Whenever I get another night off, probably be Sunday night, maybe Sunday night, because I know I have that night off. I look forward to getting this done before I start my next job on Tuesday, and so maybe we'll try to finish this before then. So Phoenix, thanks so much for being here. Libby, thanks so much for being here. Anybody else that's watching this on my YouTube channel, Thanks so much for watching this. Be sure and comment down below on my YouTube channel. Let me know how you're enjoying one small fire at a time. I think it's just getting better and better. It's getting more heartbreaking, but it's definitely getting better the more we read, for sure. So thanks so much for giving me your time, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace, everybody. Have a great day.